Hey Booktube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. Just here with a little reading update and a mini review of The Small House at Allington by Anthony Trollope. But first of all, I want to tell you what I've been reading. So I'm still reading, and I got a little bit read at work this week. I just don't want to get too far. But this is Calm the F Down, How to Control What You Can Accept and What You Can't So You Can Stop Freaking Out and Get On With Your Life by Sarah Knight. I need to read this book. I really do. I need to work on calming down, because I feel like every time I come to a Friday Reads video, I'm really stressed out, and I need to calm down. The other thing that I've been reading, which is really, really putting me out of my comfort zone, but is in a great way, is The Wind's 12 Quarters, which is a short story collection by Ursula Le Guin. And I'm doing this as a buddy read with my friend Mark. And Mark has been so excited, and I'm like, oh my god, like, what did I get into? Because I don't normally read, well, I don't, I rarely, I couldn't even begin to guess what the last science fiction book I've read. I do read fantasy occasionally, rarely, but so I'm hoping, like, by starting with short stories, it's just kind of, this is my attempt to, like, dip my toes into the science fiction waters, and I'm so glad that Mark is gonna help me navigate my way. The first story, by the time I got to the end of the first story, I was okay, but like the beginning of it, I was just like, what the heck is going on? What is happening? So anyway, so this is and it's not part of my absurd TBR for the year, but I still feel like I need to read this. So anyway, I'm excited, and I'm so glad that, like I said, I have Mark to help me with. Now, last weekend, I was able to finish The Small House at Allington. I do want to, I wish I could find a way to do a spoiler-free review, but I can't. So if you are set on reading the Barset Chronicles, these are the first 4 books in the series: The Warden, Barchester Towers, Dr. Thorne, and Framley Parsonage, which I just read in January. So, and then for March of the Mammoths, I'm going to be reading The Last Chronicle of Barset, which is the last book in this series. Anthony Trollope was an incredibly prolific Victorian writer. He wrote 47 books and an autobiography. But I just don't think that the thing that struck me the most about the book was the end, and I don't want to ruin that for you. So if you need to take off and exit this video and come back to it at some point in the future, thank you so much for watching. Remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I do appreciate you being here. So the thing that struck me overall, the thing that struck me about this book was the tone. I feel like the tone is very different from some of the other Trollope books that I've written, and I find that really fascinating. That Trollope finds a way to almost, like, it's like there are multitudes. There are multitudes in him. It's incredible that somebody could write so many books and be able to do that, be able to make you feel like you're reading a book by a completely different author in the same place. So if you're watching this, either you don't care about spoilers or you've already read this book. So I found myself thinking about Sense and Sensibility because, of course, it is primarily about 2 sisters, Isabella and Lillian Dale, who are the daughters of a widowed woman, and they live in the small house at Allington. The brother-in-law lives in the great house. He's the squire. And for some reason, he really likes Isabella and wants Isabella to marry her cousin, who she's not interested in, and he's going to give her money, and he wants her to be like the mistress of his estate, and she's just not interested in it. And then a gentleman, one of Bernard's friends, comes. His name is Crosby, and you know, Lillian quickly falls in love with him, and they get engaged, and Crosby goes to the squire and is like, how much money are you gonna give for your niece? And he's just like, nothing. I'm giving nothing. The two sisters, I really do feel like they remind me so much of the Dashwood sisters in Sense and Sensibility, and I feel like that must have had some kind of influence on Trollope. Maybe I'm wrong. But the other book that this one really made me think back to, if you didn't watch my best books of 2023, this is Parallel Lives by Phyllis Rose. And if you like Victorian literature, or if you like learning about the Victorian period of time, I cannot recommend this book enough. One of you, maybe you're watching, maybe not, but one of my viewers recommended this book to me, and then I put it on my wish list, my Amazon wish list, and someone bought it for me. So I'm very, very grateful for that, by the way, because I would have never found this book otherwise. And this book is about 5 Victorian marriages, and it really shows you in a very unexpected way, like how relationships were in the Victorian period. To get divorced required an act of parliament for a while during the Victorian period. So Crosby, you know, jilts Lillian for someone he thinks is going to, for a woman he thinks is going to help make him rise to I don't know, more influence or something like that. So he breaks it off with Lillian and marries this other woman he's incredibly unhappy with, and Lillian's heartbroken. In the meantime, a character named Johnny Eames, who also who lives in London, but has known Lily Dale his whole life. And he's in love with her and wants to marry her, and he becomes friends with an earl after rescuing him from a bull, which that whole scene was just absolutely hysterical. Johnny Eames like squeezing himself out from a hedge to, you know, escape the bull, and anyway. And the Earl really believes that of course he can have Lily Dale, of course he can get her. And so they kind of hatch this scheme, and it doesn't work. And the end of the book, you know, Isabella marries a doctor who is just starting out his practice and, you know, doesn't have a lot of money. And Lily Dale is allowed to be just, like she still loves Crosby, who, by the way, also, like, his wife ends up leaving him, going with her mother to some place like Baden. I have no idea. I don't know where that is, or what that's in reference to, or whatever. But yeah, like, she's gonna be gone for years. and I was amazed that Trollope, of all people, would let the villain, like, kind of off the hook a little bit in some ways, right? But Lily Dale is allowed to just be a woman, and she doesn't, like, she's not forced to marry anyone. And she's not, you know, I mean, obviously people want her to get married, but she doesn't. And the squire, who initially, I mean, part of the reason that Crosby jilts her is the squire says, like, no, there's no money. She doesn't have a dowry from him, I guess maybe is the best way to put it. Whereas Isabella, whom he wants her to marry her first cousin, Bernard, and wants her to be mistress of the great house as opposed to the small house at Allington. Yeah, like, she doesn't want that, but he wants to, you know, he does have money set aside to give to her. Well, anyway, he ends up giving both daughters money, which is fascinating, because if Lily Dale had that money, or if he had said, I will give my niece this much money, the squire had said he would give that money to her, Crosby probably wouldn't have jilted her and wouldn't have left her. So it's quite a bit of irony, but there's an excerpt from Trollope's autobiography in the back of this Penguin edition, and I just wanted to read you just a tiny bit. In it appeared Lily Dale, one of the characters which readers of my novels have liked the best. In the love with which she has been greeted, I have hardly joined with much enthusiasm, feeling that she is somewhat of a female prig. Just hilarious. Anyway, because he didn't have to make her that way. She became first engaged to a snob who jilted her, and then, though in truth she loved another man who was hardly good enough, she could not extricate herself sufficiently from the collapse of her first great misfortune to be able to make up her mind to be the wife of one whom, though she loved him, she did not altogether reverence. Prig as it was, she made her way into the hearts of many readers, both young and old, so that from that time to this, I have been continually honored with letters, the purport of which has always been to beg me to marry Lily Dale to Johnny Eames. Had I done so, however, Lily would have never so endeared herself to these people as to induce them to write letters to the author concerning her fate. It was because she could not get over her troubles that they loved her. So anyway, I thought that was fantastic. And again, I'm just so impressed with Trollope's ability to take us to these different parts of the same rural area or whatever outside of London, but these different scenes, these different settings, there's so many characters, and it really is one of the things I'm so grateful for to Booktube, because I would probably have never read any Anthony Trollope had it not been for Booktube. So I'm so glad, and this is another 5-star read for me. So it's a long weekend here in the States. So I hope many of you will have Monday off as I do, and I'm hoping to get some extra reading done, maybe start something else this weekend. I'm not really sure. We'll see. But I'd love to know what your plans are. What are you reading? Please tell me what you think of The Small House at Allington. If you've read it in the comment section, or any of the other books that I've mentioned, or just tell me, like I said, the last great book that you have read. Booktube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.